Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Friday, the 12th of November. I'm Derek Clark. I'm joined this lovely wintry Friday morning by Jonny McFarlane. Jonny, how are we doing?
Yes, upbeat. Looking forward to this chat. Let's get
Yeah.
on. Let's Gio.
yeah, absolutely. Before we discuss that, I know lots of you and lots more of you are subscribing to our YouTube channel, which is absolutely fantastic. If you've not done so already, just make sure you hit that subscribe button, so you'll never miss a notification when we go live. David's already got in touch on YouTube. He says, "Let's Gio." Certainly, the supporters are certainly upbeat. Jonny, of course, we broke the news yesterday that Steven Gerrard had left Rangers and joined Aston Villa as their head coach. I think as the dust settled, attention is now turned to who succeeds him in Ibrox hot seat. I think the popular choice, the people's choice, if you like, is Giovanni Van Bronkhurst. It appears that he's on a shortlist. You've heard sources say there's a three-man shortlist. He certainly seems to be the leading candidate. Where do you stand on Giovanni Van Bronckhorst and the events of the last 24 hours?
Yeah, let's start with the events of the last 24 hours. Obviously, really disappointing to see Steven Gerrard go from a Rangers point of view, because I think he has been a terrific manager. Yes, it'd been a bit stale this season. Something hasn't been right. The performances haven't been terrific. But to caveat all that, I think in the last 3 or 4 weeks, things have slowly but surely started to click back into gear, and Rangers were starting to look like much more of a force. So I don't think anyone would have been happy about Steven Gerrard departing. I don't think anybody would have wanted to see that. I think there's a lot of people upset about it, understandably. I think we've talked in a lot of detail about whether Steven Gerrard should have made that move. I still think that will be a decision that comes back to bite him at Aston Villa. Time will tell on that. Aston Villa fans watching this can come back and have a go at me in 2 years' time if I've got it completely wrong. But the thing is, it's done now. You've got to move on. Rangers are a huge club, and huge clubs, they're like sharks. They keep moving all the time. They keep moving forward. So you need to actually get that mindset and continue. And that's what the club are doing. You know, Ross Wilson has been preparing for this eventuality for a long time. That's a big part of his job remit, you know. So it's a case of going out there now. I think talking to those 3 candidates doesn't look like Rangers are going to be rushed into making a very, very quick decision. And it looks like they want to make the right decision. And I think that's absolutely the correct way to go about it. Giovanni Van Bronckhurst is one of these candidates. We know that. And I have to say, Derek, I was a bit unsure. I've not followed Giovanni Van Bronckhurst's career closely. But having read your piece yesterday, done a bit of digging myself, it does seem like a very, very good fit. I mean, I talked yesterday about needing to bring somebody in who understood Scottish football. Well, Giovanni Van Bronckhurst was here for 2.5 years, 3 years. He knows what it's all about. He knows how Scottish teams line up. He knows the idiosyncrasies of the pitches. Perhaps the plastic pitches are a new thing, but in general, he understands what's going on in the Scottish game. Yes, it's been a while, but he knows. He did a lot of time in English football with Arsenal. Remember, he was one of the Invincibles down there. So he has got a very, very good idea of British football. So he ticks that box. He also knows the club, having been here. He knows what the demands are. And he's been at Rangers through good and bad times. When he was here, Rangers won a treble in his first season, a double the second season, and then we don't need to go into what happened after that. It wasn't great. And, you know, he was around for that. So he's aware of what happens and the pressures. You add that to a very impressive coaching stint at Feyenoord, who I think it's safe to say are the third club in Holland. Now, that might upset Feyenoord fans. I'll add them to the list of people outside the Rangers fans that have upset this week. But to win 2 cups in a league, and I think, is it 2 Super Cups? What's the other 2 trophies?
Two Dutch Cups, basically.
Right. People are saying 5 trophies. I'm assuming there's like 2 sort of charity shield type things.
Yeah, there is,
because he won 2 cups in a league.
Yeah, you don't count.
But that's pretty decent going. As I say, Feyenoord they've not won many leagues in the last 40 years.
They've been a basket case of a club in recent years, so the achievement can't be demeaned in any way. It was something else to pip Ajax and PSV to that title.
Yeah, and he did it in style. That team was great to watch. I think a similar style to the way the sort of Gerrard Beale philosophy is set up. So he's ticking a lot of boxes. And then you add in the fact that Giovanni Van Bronkhurst, after he left Rangers, went on to become a truly great player. As I say, an invincible at Arsenal, a Champions League winner at Barcelona, a World Cup finalist with Holland. Someone that will come in there and be instantly admired and given respect by the players in that dressing room. Steven Gerrard's a special case, but Giovanni Van Bronckhorst comes in and he's a guy that you remember, and I think you would want to play for. So it ticks so many boxes, Derek. And listen, I'm always wary of being the pundit that goes for the obvious candidate, because quite often that can be the wrong decision. Everyone centres around the candidate where you're not really sure, but this one just seems quite an obvious and sensible move now. But there's 3 candidates there that Rangers are going to be speaking to, and you have to imagine they'll be high quality, and it might be that someone fits and meshes better with the ideas of the club and Ross Wilson. So we'll have to wait and see. I don't think we should get too carried away with the Giovanni Van Bronckhorst thing, because it's got a long way to go. But in terms of just looking at the facts, he looks like he would be a great option for Rangers.
Yeah, and saying that, I think supporters are getting carried away, Johnny, at this point. Just having a look at social media, especially last night, I think everyone is... if Giovanni Van Bronckhorst was brought into the club, I think everyone would quickly forget about Steven Gerrard and be right on the Van Bronckhorst train. That being said, is there parts of you that maybe questions that sort of appointment? I know he won the league title, as impressive as it was. It was 4 years ago now. His spell in China, he didn't really pull up any trees, albeit it was COVID disrupted. I know he had a spell overseeing Pep Guardiola at Man City, but he's not been in the hot seat for a period of time now. Scottish football, as we know, is a quirky division. Is there any doubts that it might not be the right appointment?
Before I answer that, Derek, I have to say, you mentioned about being carried away, and I think this is the ultimate example of getting carried away. Terry Monroe here. Seen you on Sky Sports News, Derek. You're famous. Come on, Terry. His ego's big enough as it is.
Next up, Hollywood.
No, on the... I've got to say, Derek, I don't really have a lot of doubts. Yes, it's been a while. I totally get that. I mean, the China thing's just an easy one to explain. He went out there and then coronavirus hit.
Yeah.
He's not just miles away from his family. He's a continent away from his family during such a difficult time. And I think everyone can understand why that maybe didn't go as well. And listen, I mean, people go to China for a specific reason, isn't it? It's to maximize their career value and make sure they get a payday. So when you go out there and it's coronavirus, sometimes things are more important than money. I think you can understand that completely. I think the fact that he's been part of Citigroup, Derek, is a huge plus. I mean, they do not hire diddies, do they? You have to be best in class to get a job down there. And they wanted him in there to have a really good scout around the place, and they thought he would be perfect for one of the jobs that are going within the Citigroup. May that be New York or Melbourne or eventually Manchester itself. He was someone in there that was highly thought of, and he decided to leave that position. Now he's available, so I don't have any doubts that he could come in and be a good manager. Listen, I suppose the only thing that you need as a Rangers manager primarily that we often don't talk about is you need a bit of real steel. Now, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst wouldn't have had the career he's had without being a focused, determined, steely character. But at Rangers, you also need to be able to convey steel. Look, think of the best ones. Walter Smith, Steven Gerrard, Jock Wallace, Graham Souness. There's a certain type of character that works as a Rangers manager. You need to be strong, and it doesn't have to be seen as a sort of physically strong type. There's more a type of character that you require to keep this club together. And I don't know Giovanni Van Bronkhurst. I don't know if he's the kind of character that'll happen with. But it's important.
Yeah, and so many of you getting in touch. Thank you very much for your comments. I've seen a lot of people bringing up Jermaine Defoe in his role at Ibrox, Johnny. It appears that he's still there. Of course, he's still registered as a player at Rangers. Do you see him being moved up as a coach, or can you perhaps see him leaving, given that Steven Gerrard and the coaching team who brought him to the club are away?
Well, it's all speculation, but I think it would be really a convoluted process, because if he was to go to Aston Villa, he's a player, so I think there would need to be a transfer fee, or so. But we're not sure at the moment what the situation with Jermaine Defoe is, other than he does remain at Ibrox. I think it's very possible that if Rangers haven't been able to secure a deal in time for the Hibs game, that Jermaine Defoe could be put in charge of that. And listen, would you have any concerns? I mean, no. Jermaine Defoe is not a guy you would be concerned about, is he? No. He'll handle the press, he'll handle the media, and I'm pretty sure he'll have the respect of the players. So I wouldn't have any concerns about that. And I think it would be really good to have Jermaine Defoe going forward as a real part of that management team. But it'll be up to whoever's coming in. I mean, they've literally got carte blanche to do what they want, haven't they? Steven Gerrard's ripped out the entire staff, as we knew he would. That's not a criticism. He brought them in, that was part of the team, and we knew he would leave with them. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I've got to be honest, Derek, I don't know about you. I know he's 39. I'd like to see a little bit more of him on the pitch.
Well, I've already said this. I wrote an article a few weeks ago about this, saying this was before, of course, he appeared as a pundit on Sky Sports when Rangers were playing. But for me, at a time when Rangers were firing blanks in front of goal, they were looking for that out-and-out goal scorer to get them over the line in games. I think he would be the ideal player you would stick in there. But we haven't really seen anything of him apart from that little cameo up at Tannadice at the start of the campaign. So it leads me to believe that perhaps his playing days are over. But there's been no official announcement from the club or anything like that. So it's a bit of a mystery, Johnny.
Yeah, it is. I don't see why Jermaine Defoe can't be part of the squad and be a good option. If you need a goal and you're firing stuff into the box, the ball breaks to someone, you would want it to be him, wouldn't you? So I can see, at the age he's at, why it's happening. It's obvious.
Yeah.
Jermaine Defoe's not going to play, 25 games a season even at this age.
Yeah. What do you make of this in terms of number 2? Jamie says he'll need local knowledge. Neil McCann, I think you said this yesterday, Johnny. He would be a good addition to the backroom team. He always speaks well on Rangers TV and Sky when he's on. I wouldn't be opposed to this.
No, I mean, Neil McCann, I think, did a pretty good job at Dundee and had them playing excellent football. I think Steven Gerrard consistently said that Neil McCann deserved a lot of credit for the development of Glenn Kamara, for example. But I suppose the one thing I want to focus on with a lot of these names and stuff like that, Derek, is you can get a bit carried away. People watch Neil McCann and they think, oh, he's such a strong personality when he's a pundit, and he comes across really well. He's intelligent. That doesn't always translate. Like Gary Neville is my favourite pundit in England.
Yeah.
He was absolutely abysmal at Valencia. It was so bad that he'll probably never manage it ever again from one short spell. So one skill doesn't necessarily translate to the other, and we've got to be careful about that. But I do think with Neil McCann, there's more substance to it because of the job that he did do at Dundee, and I thought he did a pretty good job last season with Inverness as well. He steadied the ship in a really difficult time and had them playing some decent stuff. So I think Neil McCann is a guy that should have a future in the coaching worlds and management worlds. And whether or not he would move to Rangers, I suppose would depend if he fits a lot of criteria. Here's the thing to remember, Derek. Michael Beale is best in class as a coach.
Yeah.
And the players will be used to that. So Rangers absolutely have to make sure that the coaching's of a similar quality with whoever they bring in, or someone who can grow into being that quality.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it'll be very apparent to those guys that things are not the way they were, and we know how that can sort of fester at a football club.
Yeah.
I think Giovanni Van Bronkhurst spent a lot of years working alongside Jan Wouters, who has been a coach, obviously, at Rangers before.
Yes.
Successful. I read a piece with Jan Wouters. I think he's in his 60s now, so who knows if he would still be an option or if he would be interested. But that's an interesting one as well, given his past history with the club.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure I spoke to, I'm not sure if it was Morris Ross or Tommy Muller-Nielsen recently, where they're talking about Jan and just how good he is as a coach, and how he just acquires respect from the players. He would do that instantly if he would come in. There was an interesting point raised. I'm just going to bring it up by Norrie here, Johnny. Mm-hmm. If Giovanni Van Bronckhorst comes in, he'll look hard at the squad and move on underperforming players to make space for the talent he wants to bring in. Who would be moved on first? Now, there's a number of names Rangers supporters perhaps getting slightly worried about that may move as a result of Steven Gerrard and the coaching staff moving. Is there any that sort of stand out for you that could be heading off for pastures new come January time?
Well, you need to get offers first.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the problem. I think Rangers might have been amenable to Alfredo Morelos moving in the summer, to be honest.
Yeah.
But there needs to be someone there who's going to come in and pay the valuation, or close to the valuation. Personally, I think Alfredo Morelos has had his time at Rangers. As much as I think he's a terrific player, I just think he's gone a bit stale. He needs a move. I think Rangers wouldn't turn down the opportunity to make a bit of money from a player, and Rangers have Kemar Roof in there. They've got Fashion Sakala in there who looks good. I think that one would be the one that if you were hand picking someone to go, that's who I would hand pick. And I know there'll be a lot of fans who love Alfredo Morelos who wouldn't agree with that. I think the other one, and we've discussed it already on this video before, would have to be, despite the fact I love him as a player, I think he's generational talent, is Nathan Patterson, because I think Tav will be able to play for another 5 years. The guy is physically excellent. So how do you square this circle of those two together? I just don't think you can, unless Giovanni Van Bronckhorst or someone else came in and changed the formation to ensure Nathan Patterson was playing. And if you can't play Nathan Patterson, then you have to sell him or loan him out to allow him to show what he can do. And I think, given that there's already been significant interest from Everton, I think that might be an option for Rangers in terms of bringing in some real cash. Yeah,
it'll be an interesting one to certainly keep an eye on. Scott says he thinks Kent will be on Gerrard's list for sure. Listen, it's going to be interesting the next wee while.
That's a big thing, mate, about who Gerrard will look to take, and that this actually might be good for Rangers from a point of view of generating some transfer interest. I think Gerrard will be interested in Glenn Kamara. I think he'll be interested in Ryan Kent. I think he might be interested in Yanis Hadji. Connor Goldson on a free? Yep. Beyond that, don't think so.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think in a weird sort of way, the player trading model may get kick-started and into gear with Steven Gerrard moving down south to Aston Villa, where, let's be honest, he's going to have a vast amount of money to play with. He may be shopping in a different market now as opposed to going back to his old club. I remember when Brendan Rodgers left for Leicester and the talk was, who's he going to take from Celtic? And he took no one. So it just shows you that it's not necessarily always the case when a manager leaves to take all their players with them. So it'll be an interesting one to keep an eye on, that's for sure.
I see people are saying Aribo there, Derek. Listen, I like Joe Aribo, but I think he's still a bit away from performing at a level where you would take him and put him in an English Premier League team. I don't know what you think. He's got all the talent in the world, Joe Aribo. He can do everything, but I still think he's a player that's yet to fully ignite in Scottish football and kind of take a season by the scruff of the neck. He's been pretty good this season. I would give him 7 out of 10. But he's still, for me, someone that's just not quite found the perfect place in the team where he absolutely works. And it might be he just becomes a player. He can play left back. He can play right centre midfield. He can play left centre midfield. He can play right of a 3. He can play as a 10. He maybe just one of these players. But I think until he sort of settles a position that you go, well, that's his every week, and he's racking up serious numbers in the Scottish Premiership, I'm not sure that he would get in that Aston Villa team. But what do I know? Steven Gerrard, as people are saying, he's clearly loves Joe Aribo as a player. They might see him as a bargain.
See, in a way, you get more time on the ball in the Premier League, so in a way, it might suit Aribo more as opposed to having 2 or 3 players on him and not much time on the ball. So I think that might work in his favour. And as Rangers on Tour says it, Crystal Palace have been credited with sniffing about in recent weeks. So he's another one that'll be interesting to see if he stays or goes come January. Okie dokie, I think that'll do us there, Johnny. Thanks to everyone, as ever, for getting in touch on our social media channels. Remember, if you're watching us on YouTube, just hit the subscribe button so you'll never miss a video that we record. We've got a great article on the website this morning from 4 Lads Had a Dream blogger Stevie Clifford. I'd very much advise you go and have a wee look at that. And remember to subscribe to the Rangers Review now. It's just rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe for all the details to support top quality journalism covering the club you love. Okay, I hope you enjoy your weekend, folks. We'll be back on Monday, perhaps with the news of a new manager announcement. Who knows? But until then, speak to you later on.